This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Welcome back. If you were with us with part one, if not, part one is down below. You can click on that. But we have a two-part series here with Navistar's after-sales leadership. Today, we're talking with Joe Kory, Senior Vice President of After-Sales, Chintan Sopariwala, Group Vice President of Parts, and Mark Reiter, Vice President of Service, all with Navistar, parent company of International Trucks. Gentlemen, thanks again for coming back.
Thanks for having us. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Okay, so last conversation, we hit service pretty hard. Lots going on there. This one, we're diving into technology, right? This is where I do not shut up about data. So I'm sorry, but I'm very excited about talking about all these questions. So to kick us off here, we've seen Navistar invest in a lot of connected technologies over the past couple of years. Where is the proof in this ROI put in? Where do you see customers reaping the benefit of total cost of ownership and uptime with these connected solutions?
Jason, that's a great question. And like you said, we have invested heavily in the connectivity space, especially over the last couple of years. And, what I like to think about us is we are no longer in the automotive space. We are a technology company that operates in the automotive space, right? We are focused on selling solutions to the customer. So yes, we do sell trucks, we do sell buses, we sell parts, but at the same time, our products offer solutions. And let me give you a couple of examples, right? We have an industry-leading connectivity and service communication system. One of the things we recently launched is what we call Intelligent Fleet Care, which, by the way, now comes standard on all Class 6 through 8 products. So what happens, in Intelligent Fleet Care? If you are a fleet buying a heavy-duty truck from Navistar, you get access to 5 years of connectivity. You get multiple modules. So it is a holistic suite of connectivity solutions. Everything you are going to need to maximize your uptime and lower your total cost of ownership. Quick example, one of these applications in that suite is Advanced Preventive Maintenance, called APM. Fleets that are enrolled in advanced preventive maintenance, what we do is we measure their fuel economy on a real-time basis. And based on that, the fleet manager or the driver gets a notification when is the right time to do the next oil change. That's just one example, right? Based on that, what we are actually seeing is a lot of fleets can drive an incremental 13 to 18,000 miles, and that's a pretty big range out there, without an oil change. So what that means for you is if you're a large owner, operating thousands of trucks in your portfolio, you can get away with one less oil change per year per truck. Now imagine the cost savings across those thousands of vehicles. The other item we do have is, tire pressure monitoring system. So of course, the tire pressure is visible on the driver dashboard, but now we have the technology where a fleet manager sitting in front of his or her computer has full access to tire pressures to hundreds and thousands of vehicles and get notified anytime the tire pressure is below the normal threshold. In fact, tire pressure is the number one cause for on-the-road service calls for a lot of fleets. Right. So what is happening now is we are seeing the fleet managers proactively call the drivers and asking the driver to take the truck to a nearby station to make sure that the tire pressures are all back to normal levels. So those are just two examples, but I'll tell you, this technology is no longer embryonic. It is no longer even nascent. We have started to realize tangible benefits from items such as Intelligent Fleet Care and gateway integration. These are proven benefits which are actually realized by a lot of fleets. By the way, of course, we haven't cracked the entire code yet, and you're going to see a lot more announcements and breakthroughs in this area in the coming future.
Right, very cool. And to that point too, I think some of the technology that's coming out is so far-reaching and far-looking that really, to your point, one of the hardest things to do now is just build the trust with the fleet managers of, yes, you can trust the notifications. Yes, we have so much data coming off the trucks that we understand the fuel efficiency you're getting, which to your point greatly impacts your oil drain intervals. And if you can do that in a more real-time basis, right, why wouldn't you want to do that? But for fleets watching, work with your partners, right? Talk to them to understand why the software is giving you these notifications, recommendations, so that you can have that trust behind it. Because once you build that trust, then to your point, you're reaping that ROI. One of the cool things you mentioned in the last part where we talked about, so if you haven't watched, sorry, spoiler alert, but you mentioned predictive stocking within the after sales service process, putting parts in the right place. Can you tell us more about predictive stocking? How does it work and how is that rolling out in your network?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, predictive stocking is something we have invested heavily within the last year or so. And we have started to reap some really good benefits out of this. It is the state of the art supply chain inventory management system. But let me talk a little bit about how the existing supply chain systems work out there, right? A lot of systems are using historical information to predict future performance. That means a part has to be sold at a given location before it is even stocked. And it needs to meet certain set of criteria before the system suggests, hey, you should be stocking this part. Well, those days are gone now, right? At International, we have mapped about 2.1 million vehicles. That's right, 2.1 million vehicles across 1,100 locations in US and Canada. And we know on a real-time basis which vehicle is operating in which dealer's AOR or area of responsibility. We are continuously monitoring the inflow and outflow of vehicles within a given AOR. At the back end, we have the sophisticated tools that actually know that, hey, which are the most commonly used components for this VIN number or to similar VIN number. Now we are combining the power of telematics with machine learning. And together, voila, you have predictive stocking. In fact, we are in the middle of doing a pilot across 12 different dealerships right now. And we are in month number 2 of this pilot. And the results that are coming in month number 2 are amazing. I cannot share a lot more details about it, but the only thing I can tell you is this is going to be the next game-changing system out there in terms of proactively making sure the part is at the right location and at the right time.
Right.
Yeah. Jason, if I could add, the reason why this is so important to us is that we know that the number one predictor of us hitting our repair velocity goals is for the part to be on the shelf when the truck comes into the dealership. It is the number one predictor of whether the dealer and the technicians in the service shop can get that vehicle back up and running within hours, not days. So that's why this is so important. It will be a critical differentiator for our dealers in the service network.
Right. No, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, of course. Why didn't we look at it from the truck side of things instead of where the box left the shelf, right? Because that'll give you that information, but it takes time, as you pointed out, for that information to come in, and by then it's just hard to act on it after there's so much time there. But with the connected trucks, the locations, what fault codes are coming off them on a pretty regular basis on what types of builds. Right. So that's really awesome. So look forward to hearing more about how that program rolls out, because I will be bugging you again for more on that, because that's super cool. Okay. I feel like maybe we need some sort of drum roll here as we roll into the electric truck question, right? It's the question that pretty much the industry really right now is asking itself as electric trucks and vehicles are rolling into markets and orders are opening. From your seat, how do you see the electric truck rollout shaping up, and how will it impact service cycles and demands as they enter the market?
Let me start and just kind of maybe give kind of a high level answer, and then maybe I'll turn it over to Mark for a little bit more detail. But really, we're right in the midst of this, right? We have customers telling us, hey, we want to buy electric products. There's a lot of environmental pressure out there, and people are getting interested, as you well know, and nobody wants to convert their entire fleet yet, but all of them want to start using some portion of electric vehicles in their fleet. So we've just recently launched our first electric buses out there. We have an upcoming launch of our medium-duty electric truck. We're doing all of the things right now that we need to do to get prepared for it. And we know there's going to be significant impacts, right? We know that there's going to be an impact on our parts business. We're going to have to service parts we've never serviced before. And we're going to see a decline in some of the traditional parts and types of repairs that we do at in our dealer service shop. So we know there's an impact on the parts business. We know certainly that there'll be an impact on the service business. The other interesting thing I think though, Jason, is that, we're using some models to kind of predict how the rollout of electric vehicles will take place. And we still see, there's a long tail on this. We still think that by 2030, 95% of the products sold will still have an internal combustion engine. Right. We believe, and our models predict, that even by 2040, when you look at all units in operation, only 8% of the heavy duty, about 14% of the medium duty, and we think about 35% of the buses will actually be electric. So this is going to go out a long time. There's going to be a long time period where we have to support, the infrastructure for electric, but the majority of the business will still be internal combustion engines. I'll turn it over to you, Mark, for a little more detail.
Yeah, thanks. From one of our objectives with any product that we launch is to make sure that the network is capable of servicing it, right? And to meet the uptime targets and to get trucks back on the road and buses back on the road. And from that perspective, an electric product is no different, right? We're going to have diagnostic information available, service manuals available. We'll have web-based training and hands-on training for our technicians, special tools, all the stuff that you need to work on these products. However, electric is very, very different, and it starts with, just the nature of a high voltage electrical system, right? It's really one of the critical mandates that we have is to make sure that, hey, as technicians start to work on these products for the first time, that, nobody gets hurt, right? We want to have zero harm on these products. We want to make sure that when what parts of the vehicle need to be de-energized before you can operate, before you can do any other kind of repair. So, you have to look at it through a very different lens. And unlike a lot of just the next diesel engine that we're launching, people in our industry are just starting to see these products. And so the familiarity just isn't there. Other than that, there's going to be significant changes to a dealership, what it has to do, right? You're going to have to be able to get the bus, in this case, our first product are school buses. You've got to get this bus 6 feet off the ground so you can get to the battery packs that are in the middle. And we stack them too high. So to lower them down, you've got to have the bus way off the ground. And some dealerships already have that, but this is now a mandatory service tool that every dealership will have to have. Right. The batteries are really heavy, so you have to have special lifts to lower them down when they're 6 feet in the air as a starting point. So just those types of things. And back to the safety thing that I'd mentioned, this is the first time that we've had essential tools going out to the dealership that is, personal protective equipment for technicians to be able to work on these things. Being able to double glove so that when you're pulling fuses on a 600 volt battery pack, you don't want to hurt yourself. And I just leave you with one thought, right? I know it is going to be a long tail, as Joe mentioned, but we took a look at what actually is what are the top 10 repairs that dealers do on internal combustion engines, and half of those parts don't exist on an electric bus. Right. So it's going to be we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. Well, we just know it's going to be very different. It's going to be a fun ride.
Right. No, for sure. And, I've actually been talking with a lot of shops and shop consulting people that while that transition does there's a whole host of other technology. We alluded to, I think, in the first conversation of software updates. We haven't even touched on like ADAS, right? ADAS is going to be a huge thing of diagnosing, repairing, calibrating. Lots of investment still on the service side there. And I think the one takeaway, even for me, that I have to remember, right, is that it's fun to talk about this stuff, and it's easy to think that a switch flips and the world is different. But it does take time, right? It's important to keep an eye on it for fleets to definitely monitor how this rolls out, where it does fit into applications, as you mentioned here, but not to take their eye off the ball of what's happening today for sure. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you taking the time. This has been wonderful. It's been great to catch up. Thank you so much, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank
Sounds
you.
great.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.